As many people in my life know, I tend to have a good memory, especially a good long term one. In fact, I remember my childhood quite well, and I can often tell someone how I felt in different situations from this period of my life. There was one thing in particular that I remember to a considerable degree, a phrase that I would hear very often, especially when I was being reprimanded or doubted the rules of my parents. The phrase was, "You will understand when you get older." At the time, this phrase would irritate me and deeply annoy me to no end. What does that even mean? I would often ask them, what if I don't understand when I get older? Yet, as it turns out, when I reflect upon those moments, I often do understand why they did what they did. They were right. However, that isn't to say that I agree with them, but I now see where they came from. Ultimately, they laid forth rules that my brother and I were expected to obey in order to maintain what I like to call the peace of the household. Upon reflecting on today's readings, which seem to be all about legality, rules, and regulations, one can find the theme of authority present. After all, these readings include the Ten Commandments, which God delivers to the Israelites after a period of unruliness. Moreover, we read in the Gospel that Jesus too uses his authority to dispel those who would attempt to commodify the temple grounds. This authority we read about is not any sort of authority, it is the authority of the King of the universe. It is important to note, however, that these readings remind us that unjust authority can exist. Didn't the Israelites have their own authority that made it acceptable to engage in pagan worship and to use sacred ground for profit? The laws and rules of us humans can often bring about pain, suffering, and divisiveness. After all, slavery was legal at some point. So too was segregation. Therefore, the only rightful authority is that of God's, He who cares for His creation. After all, most of the Ten Commandments have to do with loving thy neighbor, our fellow human. It is evident that God wills our good, for His authority is one that is based on love. Essentially, the takeaway I get from these readings is that even if we do not fully understand what God commands us to do, we can trust that all He does for us is for our benefit. May we always respect the rules and authority of God, for it is only by listening to Him and His commandments that peace can be brought to the shared household we call earth.